Hello and welcome back everyone, we Veem Online, and today I'm gonna continue the story What If Itachi Was Naruto's Brother, Part 2. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and to watch more videos like this, subscribe to my channel and turn that bell notification on so you never miss an upload. Now wasting no more time, let's begin.
Jiraiya and Nariko were looked down upon at first by the AIM orphans, as they saw that Konoha ninjas and Hanzo's goons had tried to kill them. Jiraiya told them they weren't doing what his Hokage told them to do. He was sent by his sensei because he wanted to get advice from the more experienced Rinnegan user. Jiraiya also wouldn't have saved Konan and the rest of the Akatsuki if they were really their enemies. They finally agreed with Jiraiya's point of view. They missed him a lot. Gakis, for what it's worth, I'm really proud of what you did. If Hanzo leaves, a Megacure will be in good hands, Jiraiya said, his voice filled with pride and love. Even Yahiko, who was always talking loudly, blushed when he praised them. One person they really looked up to and loved was their sensei. With a soft smile on his face, Nagato spoke up. Sensei, we wouldn't have been able to get this far without your help. Konan agreed and nodded. He's right, sensei. You gave us a reason to fight, Yahiko said, his eyes filled with determination. Nariko smiled warmly. She was happy to have saved these three people from certain death. When Jiraiya looked at his students, he laughed and smiled big, and then he looked straight at Konan and said, You have become fine ninjas. A sexy smile appeared on his face as he said, And you have certainly become a young beautiful lady. No, I'm not upset at all. Far from it, eat. Nariko hit him between the legs and then gave him a powerful axe kick that knocked him out. The AIM trio was blown away, their eyes as big as saucers. Nariko wiped her hands clean and looked at them. Pervert, she said. He deserved that for looking at Konan that way. TCH. Yahiko put his hand on his side and laughed so hard he choked. When Konan saw what her sensei was doing, she could only shake her head. Nagato was the only one who was scared and desperately tried to wake up his sensei. Nagato Ni-chan. Here, let me. He didn't want to, but he let Nariko help Jiraiya. She got on the ground and put her chin close to his ears. Tsunade is here, naked. The effect happened right away. Jaecrea woke up with wide eyes and a hunger pang. Jiraiya jumped outside and ran like his life depended on it, saying, Tsunade-chan, here I come. Everyone broke out in sweat. Baka. Hey. Yahiko said, Oh, another one with eyes like yours. Impressive. Jiraiya kept giving his Uchiha student dirty looks. She didn't care about it and kept her attention on Nagato. He frowned and said, That's strange. Yours have tomos in them. Hi, that's because I'm from the Uchiha clan. He blinked and asked, So I'm going to be your sensei and teach you how to use the Rinnegan? That's right, Jiraiya and Nariko both smile and nod. Yahiko laughed at how much they looked alike. One would even think that you both are father and daughter. It's true what he said. A lot of the people Nariko met on her trip with the pervert agreed with her. Still, she didn't mind. In her mind, she already saw him as a father. In her past life, he was one of the most important people to her. And all she could do was hope this one was even better than the last one. Jiraiya looked shocked, but she laughed a little and said, I don't think my two-chan would like to hear that. Yes, please don't go saying such things. Fugaku could appear and Sharingan me to death. Yahiko laughed, Konan laughed, and Nagato's face lit up with a smile. Hey. Danzo swore. He wasn't careful, he was to blame. But how did he know that those Akatsuki leaders were the students Jiraiya was talking about? Damn him. Damn you, Hiruzen. He clenched his teeth and sent one of his root shinobi to help him. Get rid of those imbecilic idiots from Iwa. Leave no evidence behind. With a nod, his shinobi was gone into the night. Hey. Shinra Tensai. Made rocks and trees fly around. Nariko gasped for air and knelt down. Very good, Nariko-chan, he said. I think we could take a break. Your body is still young. Sit down and have some food to replenish your chakra. The food, like rice, miso soup, and grilled fish, made her mouth water, thanks to Konan's cooking skills. Something she didn't think the previous village leader would do. Jiraiya taught her ninjutsu and a little senjutsu, just meditation. Nagato taught her Rinnegan, and Yahiko taught her taijutsu. Each person gave her time here. Iryo ninjutsu was taught to her by even Konan. The Konan she liked best was the one before the Yahiko accident. The pretty woman with blue hair even taught her some of Omegacure's special dishes. Noriko asked, "Nay, sensei, what's your last name?" Nagato let out a soft sigh. It hurt his heart every time he thought about his parents. "Don't worry about it if you don't want to," she said. "Unfortunately, I don't remember it." She bit her lip and looked at Nagato's red hair. Uchiha had blue eyes. He seemed like he might be an Uzumaki to her. "Have you ever heard of the Uzumaki clan?" "Uzumaki clan," she said. "Hi, they are known for having red hair just like you." Nagato ended with, "And Ka-san." His eyes were wide. Noriko smiled broadly. "You're always welcome to visit the Uzumaki clan in Konoha. They make an exception for the Uzumakis since they had been allies with them before the Uzushiyogakure's downfall. That's how Uzumaki Nagato found out about his family and past. His big family told him about it, and he still had family. "Hey, it'll be alright, little one. Just a little more and you'll be able to see the world." A gentle touch on her big stomach. It had been 2 months since Noriko and Jiraiya left. She missed her sweet daughter a lot. It was really quiet in the house without her laughter. Even Fugaku and Itachi had changed how they were acting. She only wished her daughter would get back soon. "Hey." Noriko tried to hide her laughter. In front of her were a shy Yahiko and a red-faced Konan. "Anyo, Konan. I have always liked you, ever since I had met you." The kunoichi with blue hair got even more red, and she smiled happily. "As have I, Yahiko-kun." Yahiko was shocked and asked, "Really? I'm not in a dream, am I?" Konan laughed and shook her head. He was so happy that he picked her up and swung her around. Konan laughed out loud. He kissed her passionately and cupped her cheeks when he set her down. Jiraiya was sitting next to her and biting his lips to control his sexy laughter. And they were both writing in their notebooks. "Hey. She is learning at a very fast rate. I have never seen the likes of her." It was a serious nod from Jiraiya. "I have noticed it as well. It's like she knows everything already." Nagato said, "She'll become a great kunoichi." "That, she will. How long would she need before she has learned everything?" Nagato thought as he rubbed his chin. "I would estimate that she'll need 5 more months. With the way things are speeding up." Even Jiraiya was a little shocked when he heard that. "But," he said, "to master it completely, she'll need 2 full years." "I figured, but at least this way she can train on her own until she comes back here to learn more from you." "Sensei, I don't know if it's really that smart to bring her here again. After all, Hanzo is still after us." Jiraiya let his fears go. "Don't worry, I've put many of my spies to work and they'll spread the news that Hanzo betrayed the Akatsuki. They'll destroy Hanzo's reputation step by step. In the meanwhile, the Akatsuki should continue like usual. You already have the people's respect, now you only need their support." He looked at her with wide eyes and said, "You're talking about a civil war. More like a needed revolution. Hanzo will have to step down, he'll have no choice." The Uzumaki with red hair slanted his head. "I see," he said as he crossed his arms. "A Megacure will fall and rise again." Jiraiya finished with, "Like a phoenix." "Hey." Noriko was drenched in sweat and her arms were spread out. It was too hot to stand. In his fireball, Nagato put more chakra into it. In the beginning, it took a lot of focus to absorb jutsus. She couldn't let even one little thing go wrong. If not, her arms would be wiped out. She put down her hurt arms when the attack was over. For more than 2 hours, they worked on this jutsu. Someone put a strong, rough hand on her head. "You did good, Noriko." She smiled and looked up at her sibling, who was both a student and a sensei. "Arigato, sensei." "Hey. Are you sure, Noriko?" Blonde bangs swung. "Positive. They had said a man with bandages. I only know of one man that walks around with bandages around his body and kills anyone who doesn't follow his ideology." Jiraiya made a face. He had always been wary of the Konoha's Warhawk, but now they had proof against him. First, the heir and second son of the Uchiha family were taken and tortured. Second, it was Danzo's attack on the AIM orphans without permission. When Hiruzen sensei heard the news, he was very angry. He had asked his top spy to find out more about Danzo's plan. And the things his spies told him were disgusting. That evil person helped Hanzo so he could have his support when he took over as Hokage. He would be called a traitor and a usurper just for that reason. To make things even worse, he was brave enough to help the enemy capture and torture the heir and sibling of a respected clan member. 2 or 3, if you count Itachi, trustworthy people could testify against Danzo. He had no doubts about his plans to get rid of that man. Someone needed to do something about him. What will happen to Danzo? Jiraiya gave a cold answer. He'll pay for his betrayals, with his life. Hey, Konan-ne-chan, I have finished the book about the Iryo ninjutsu and its weaknesses, chakra theory, medical herbs and use of poison. Konan gave a slow nod, as if he wasn't sure. Let's see how your progress is with Iryo ninjutsu, follow me. It was known to the woman with blue hair that the Uchiha was already very good at Iryo ninjutsu. She wasn't afraid to let her help the hurt shinobi in their medical barrack because of this. It's not that she would put Nariko in surgery, but she could start to show what she could do with small wounds, broken fingers, etc. Over time. She would make things harder for the girl. But she had a feeling that Nariko would be a great kunoichi whether she knew anything about medicine or not. She would definitely become a famous Iryo nin if she could get Tsunade to train her. Hey, Kachiyose Rinnegan. After the smoke cleared, Nariko blinked at what she saw. Nagato coughed to suppress his laughter and try to hide it. This sucks. Don't worry, Nariko, her teacher said, calling a cute squirrel isn't that bad. Yahiko laughed. Nariko sighed and stooped down. The eyes of the squirrel were the same as hers. The fluffy animal was picked up by Jiraiya. We could call it the Squirrel of Doom. Its cuteness would be enough to kill a ninja. The little Uchiha gave her sexy sensei a mean look. The AIM orphans laughed out loud. It's not funny. Hey. Jiraiya made a face when he read his sensei's message. The people who took Iwa had been killed. Most likely, Danzo is trying to get away. But not this time. He answered the toad's call on the scroll and gave it to it. Give this to sensei only. Hi, Jiraiya-sama, his summons went away. They needed to be watchful. No one could guess what Danzo would do next. Hey. Nagato calmly told him, imagine you want to make it appear. I'm trying sensei. Nagato rolled his eyes at his student for being so stubborn. Nariko was out of breath when she showed her sensei the small black chakra receiver with a big smile. Yada, I did it. He narrowed his eyes and said, again, it's so small. And Nariko moaned, Sensei, it's my first time. She wasn't paid attention to. Hey, Yahiko-sensei, why am I wearing a frog costume for our taijutsu training? The shinobi smiled and said, it's to see how well you can fight while being held back by something. In this case, it'll be the costume. And why aren't you wearing one? Asked with a frown. That's because I have already completed this mission a long time ago. Nariko let out a frustrated sigh, but to be honest, she thought it was really cute. How'd I look? Even though he was trying not to laugh, Yahiko said, frogtastic. Nariko made a face. That was really stupid. Hey. Hiruzen got angry and clenched his fist. Fear flashed in his eyes. Too many times, his best friend and rival had broken his trust. He had gone too far now. He wasn't careful. He would lose his life, reputation, and honor because he wasn't careful. Hey. You have already mastered the Shinra Tensei, but we also have the ability to use its counterpart, namely the Bansho Tenin. Nagato said, with this technique you force anything towards you. How could you use this technique in an efficient way? You could pull your unsuspecting enemy towards you and kill him off with a kunai or something else. With a proud smile, Nagato said, very good. A jutsu isn't defined by power, but by smarts. Remember that, Nariko. Hi, sensei. He got up, and Nariko did too. Let's see how well you practiced this move. They stopped at the site where the Akatsuki train. I want you to utilize your Bansho Tenin to dispatch all these training puppets. Before calling up her chakra, Nariko waited until her sensei was no longer in the circle. It hummed happily, ready to do its job. She called up another clone with her kunais. Let's do this. She heard her clone yell, Bansho Tenin. As Rinnegan flashed brightly, she moved gracefully between the puppets, stabbing and throwing her kunais at their vital points. She let out a loud breath and stood up when she was done. The huge room was filled with the sound of clapping. She turned away from her sensei and saw Jiraiya standing there with a proud look on his face. "Kid, you are becoming quite the ruthless killer." She shut her eyes. Killer. That was a terrible word, she thought. She would rather have the word guard. Hey. They were standing in front of their Hokage. Both of them frowning. Not at all. Fugaku was shaking with anger. That bad guy. He shouldn't have taken and hurt his own kids. He kept his temper in check by breathing out. He said he would stay on task. Fugaku-kun? I'm focused, Hokage-sama. Hiruzen gave a happy nod. Good, now, we'll discuss this further with Shikaku when he comes back from a mission. For now, we'll have to wait until Jiraiya and Nariko are back from the training trip. Hi Hokage-sama. Hey, Itachi let out a sad sigh. It was really quiet in the house. His dad wasn't even home yet. His mother and him were the only ones there. Minato, Kushina, Obito, and Shisui were among the people who came to see them, but not a thing felt the same. Getting ready wasn't the same without his sister. No, that didn't mean he wasn't training, though. He had never been so eager to get stronger before. He missed his sister a lot. He got up and sighed, then he left to train some more. Hey. Kakashi turned his head away. Kakashi-kun, please, I love you. He had no idea what to say to her. How could someone be told that they didn't feel the same way about you? He swallowed quietly and turned his attention to her. Rin, I. Nohara, who had brown hair, stared at him with lips that were shaking. I really don't have time for this. Kakashi left the crying girl before she could answer. He didn't care much about love and relationships. Those silly emotions would only get in the way of him. Hey. Kamion, one more. As he worked on his jutsu, sweat ran down his forehead. He would do this right even if it meant the end of the world. Shisui yelled, I can't afford to fall behind, and made his chakra do what he said. As the future Shunshin no Shisui moved from place to place, Itachi could only blink his eyes and stare in shock. Minato watched and was impressed by how well the boy did with the body flicker move. It took even Fugaku a while to praise the boy's work. At the same time, Shisui was filled with pride. Hey. Kushina turned to look at her Fuinjutsu teacher. Sotsune-sensei, I have a question. Yes, dear? What made you choose Nariko as your student? Kushina was really interested. Sotsune was known not to pick a student, but now he had picked Nariko to be his student. It would be too mild to say that she and the other Uzumakis were shocked. Her eyes, was his vague answer. She was confused and asked, Nani, her eyes? Because they showed an intelligence far above her age? He shook his head and smiled like he knew what was going on. No, because her eyes shined with hope. Kushina just stood there with her mouth open as Sotsune walked away and laughed softly. Hey. Fire chakra was in Obito's breath as he let it out. Kaden. Gokakyu no Jutsu. As he strengthened his breath with more chakra, huge flames shot out from it. In just 1 week, the fireball had grown twice as big. He was getting better at ninjutsu, and his training for Sharingan was going well too. He only needed to work on his taijutsu. He knew someone who could help him with that. He would do it for any price. No matter what it cost him. Ah. Obito, I see you're letting the power of youth consume you. That boy groaned. What did he do? Let's start with some youthful stretches. Obito knew that after this training, he would be a soft ball of flesh. Hey. One of the guards yelled. Stop. Tell us why you're here in Konohagakure. Their eyes were narrowed with suspicion. One of the two stepped forward and raised their hand in a friendly way. We come here to seek shelter as was promised to us. The other guard laughed in anger, but then his eyes went to the red hair. Wait, Katetsu. Look at the hair. Azumo, his partner, looked at the couple with eyes that knew what they were saying. Oh, I see. I need to be sure that both of you are Uzumakis. He looks at the woman who is pregnant. I'll be right back. He went to the guard post and came back with 2 seals. This seal will tell us if you have Uzumaki blood in you, but it needs your blood first, he said. There was blood on the seal from the 2 Uzumaki's thumb cuts as they nodded their heads. The seal turned bright red, and the two Uzumakis were led to T&I with a smile. They would have a place to live after just one more test of loyalty. They both smiled warmly and held hands. One is rough, and the other has bite marks on it. A fresh start for their unborn child. Hey! Orochimaru laughed with pleasure. That old jerk was careless and did something wrong, and he will lose his good name. He couldn't say anything that would help him. That's too bad, though. Danzo was one of the few people Orochimaru didn't mind being around. Oh well, he said, and then he turned around and kept working on his experiment, his eyes shining with strange pleasure. He would soon get his turn. Hey! Noriko gave a big smile. Nay, sensei. Want to get some ramen? Nagato got pale. If it were ramen, this girl would eat his whole wallet. Sensei, come on, you promised. Sorry. The man with red hair, Uzumaki, took a deep breath when those sparkling blue eyes met his. Must hold back. Lucky for him, Yahiko showed up. Nagato, sensei wants to talk to you. Ah, Yahiko sensei. Nagato sensei wanted to treat me for lunch. Don't worry, Chibi. I'll take his place and treat you to something, the shinobi with orange hair told Noriko. He looked his friend in the eyes and said, it was an honor to have you as a leader. He then added, he who shall be bankrupt stands before me. Good luck, my friend. When his friend left with a serious look on his face, Yahiko raised an eyebrow and asked, okay. He then smiled at Noriko. Let's go, Chibi. It wasn't until later that Yahiko got what Nagato was saying. It was too late by then. When he saw how much ramen Noriko was eating, he shed anime tears. Hey! The Third Shinobi World War ended when Minato was made the Yondaime. It was known that Konoha was the strongest shinobi village after they won. It was known for making great ninjas like Hitaki Sakumo, the legendary Sannin, and many others. A lot of people thought this was the start of a new era of peace in Konoha. The village did very well while he was in charge. She kissed Minato on the cheek in a pure way. I'm proud of you. He looked at his beautiful wife and pulled her close for a passionate kiss. His hands traced down her body, until they stopped when they got to her big stomach. I love you, Kushina. His angel with red hair laughed happily as he kissed her all over the neck. So die, Anata. Hey! When the punch came at Noriko, she dove to avoid it. It was Shinra Tensei, and a strong force blew away everything but one thing. Nagato smiled and put out his hand to greet her, Shinra Tensei. She clenched her teeth and wiped her sweaty cheeks. Nagato's power was the only thing that could make her weak. She had a long way to go yet. She could at least fight him. He would be let down by her if she didn't. Nagato thought she would do that after 7 months. But she didn't let him down either. Hey! Yahiko gave a big smile. Know that you're always welcome here, Gaki. Noriko had never been happier with her life than she is now. Being born again and again. All of her worries went away when she looked at that happy smile. It was the best choice she had ever made to save him. She had no regrets at all. Nagato went on, and it was a pleasure to have you as a student. She had tears in her eyes that wouldn't fall. He leaned in and kissed her on the forehead. It's with great joy that we can call you one of our precious friends. She had made new friends and gotten back in touch with old ones here in Omegakure. It didn't bother Noriko if she was upset. She cried with joy. You guys, you made me cry. I feel honored to call you 3 my friends. She pulled them all the way to her and gave them a group hug. As soon as she let go, another voice joined them. What the hell are these emotional outbursts for? Kanan felt a tick mark show up on her forehead. I mean, I could understand if Konan and Noriko said it, but really, you two too? Jiraiya asked the 2 Akatsuki men. A few veins showed up on Noriko's forehead. It's not like you won't see each other ag-eat. No, stop, please, help me. Yahiko and Nagato were drenched in sweat. They don't want to get in the way of the 2 women who are being lynched. Hey! I yelled, what the hell are you writing in that notebook of yours? Noriko gave an odd look and kept writing. Is that how you show your respect to your elders? Ero Sennin, shut it. Can't you see I'm working? Jiraiya's eyes got really big and funny. It was like, have you no shame, you brat? He hit her in the head, but she dodged him. Her Rinnegan turned on when she looked at him with those beautiful eyes. 4 tomos in each eye making people feel dizzy. Don't make me Shinra Tensei you. The super pervert got chills when he saw those creepy eyes. Scary. While she was writing, Noriko smiled and kept going. She thought with a quiet laugh, if only he knew. I couldn't believe what Jiraiya saw when he looked at his laughing student. That girl is crazy. Hey. Noriko spun around and laughed out loud. I can't believe we're almost there, Ero Sennin. Jiraiya was sad. The big red gate was clear to her. The Chunin guards are lazy. She grabbed his hand and pulled him along. Come on, hurry. Stop pulling me, you brat. He had to run with her or be dragged by her because of how tight her grip was. He had to protect his honor, and he couldn't let her ruin it for him. Noriko stopped and jumped up and down with joy when they saw the 2 guards. Kotetsu laughed and said, Man, Noriko-chan, calm down. I can't. I have all this pent-up energy. This brat will kill me. Jiraiya moaned as he rubbed his temples. Hey. Azumo put a stamp on their ninja passport. Here you go, Jiraiya-sama. The Hokage awaits your arrival. He gave his partner a knowing look. When Jiraiya and Noriko saw them, they frowned in confusion but didn't say anything about it. They were known as the impossible to part weird pair. Hey. When the door burst open, Hiruzen and Minato were talking about how to change the academy's curriculum. Gigi, we're back. Both the past and present Hokages laughed out loud. Ah, Noriko-chan. Konoha was quiet without you. I know, Gigi. I came to rectify that. As Jiraiya stormed inside, he raised his fist. You stupid brat. What have I told you about that nickname? It's your own fault for perverting on that girl, Ero Sennin. Hiruzen let out a frustrated sigh. Jiraiya yelled, You stupid girl, she was interested in me. Are you stupid and blind? Noriko laughed as she scrunched up her nose. Jiraiya teased, jealous you'd turn into an ugly old hag. Noriko replied, I don't need to hear that from the ugly old pervert. Her lips curled up. Heaved a sigh, oh boy. I dare you to repeat that. The Uchiha with the blue eyes hit Jiraiya in the head. With pleasure, enough. Hiruzen cut in angrily. It hasn't even been 5 minutes and you're ready to kill each other. How in the name of the sage did you 2 even survive without killing each other in those 7 months? Noriko shook her head and looked at Jiraiya with disdain. Believe me, Gigi, I tried. Jiraiya frowned, but he was smart and didn't say anything. Minato yelled, Be quiet. Jiraiya-sensei, report. Noriko closed her eyes. Wait. She got it when they got bigger. Did the old man give you his hat? Jiraiya made a face. How could someone be both smart and a genius at the same time? Hey. Noriko showed up in front of her house and opened the shoji door. Her excitement rolled off of her like waves. Tadaima. She heard the pitter-patter of feet right away. When Itachi hugged her, she almost fell. Nei-chan, you're finally back. When Noriko laughed out loud, her whole body relaxed right away. She felt at home here. Noriko-chan, you're really home. We missed you so much, my fireflower, her mother said as she joined her. She shut her eyes and squished up against her mom and brother. I love you, Ka-chan, oh Tuto. Didn't you forget someone? She opened her eyes. To-chan. She got caught up with her mom and brother, which made Itachi mad. She smacked him hard with a hug. I missed you, To-chan. Fugaku grabbed his little girl even tighter. He missed her a lot. Hey. I can't wait to see you in a spar, Kai-chan. He didn't like his nickname. Noriko gave a knowing smirk. So, where could Obito and Shisui be, Kai-chan? He tried not to pout. Nei-chan, can you call me something else? Nope. Itachi tried again, this time with blushing cheeks. It's embarrassing. She laughed happily and said, Oh, Kai-chan, you're so cute. She was about to pinch him in the cheeks when he sped up. This way, Nei-chan. Noriko went to the Uchiha training grounds with her little brother. When she got there, she saw 2 Uchiha fighting each other. She quietly laughed and called up a copy of herself. Time for a prank. Itachi wasn't sure if he should groan or laugh. He was happy with face palming. Hey. Shisui was knocked out by Obito. The little shrimp unfortunately flew away. He didn't like that jutsu of his. Coward. Insulting me won't save your pride, Obito-chan, laughed the younger Uchiha. Uchiha glared, and Sharingan turned on. When Shisui felt someone behind him, he opened his mouth but stopped. Right away, he flickered away and came back behind the person who was attacking him. Nariko, she said. I wanted to surprise you. At least Obito fell for his. They looked at the boy who had passed out and was bleeding from his nose. It was really sad. To knock Rin out, all you would have to do is touch him. The only thing her changed Rin clone did was lay her body on Obito. Without a doubt, Rin could get Obito to do anything for her. He was lucky that she was so nice. He would be fucked otherwise, to the point. Kakashi laughed when he heard that Nariko had arrived. Konoha's good old days of peace and quiet are over. He wasn't looking forward to her annoying jokes and yelling about the Happokai seat. He sighed. He walked toward the store with his hands in his pockets. He had to put things back in his cabinets. He stiffened as he turned to the left. Rin was pacing back and forth right in front of him, in a nervous way. Like she was looking for someone. She stopped when her eyes met his. Kakashi. Without waiting a second, he was out of her sight. He didn't have time for such small emotions. Rin should not bother him. He was getting really nervous about it. He was lucky that he did care about her. He let out another sigh and walked to another grocery store. Just because you love someone doesn't mean they won't die anytime soon. Then he saw Nariko with her pregnant mother and little brother, which scared him. He was cursed, so this couldn't be a mistake. There was no other reason given for these meetings. He clenched his teeth and thought about not eating and dying of hunger. He shook his head, took a deep breath, and changed into a normal-looking person. Without her Sharingan, Nariko would never be able to see his henge. He was sure it wasn't on because he checked the level of chakra near her eyes. He walked into the store with a happy grin on his face. On his shopping list were canned foods and rice. He quickly gathered all of his things and walked over to the cash register. Oi Bakashi. What are you doing here? He asked all of a sudden. His whole body stopped moving, and his eyes and mouth were wide open. What are you kidding me? What the hell did I do to deserve this? Why are you hanged? He was going to ignore her, but her mom spoke up. Kakashi was also not a wild person. He was still polite, even though it hurt to talk to the annoying Uchiha girl. Ah, Kakashi-kun, nice to see you here. How are you doing? He took down the henge and gazed at the lovely Uchiha matriarch. I'm doing good, Uchiha-sama. Please call me Makoto, Makoto said with a soft laugh. He said, very well, Makoto-san. How are you doing? I'm fine, she said with a glowing face. His cheeks turned red when she smiled like a mother. She was really pretty. Nay, Bakashi, Nariko. Her horrified mother yelled. She raised an eyebrow in a suggestive way and asked, fine, Kakashi-kun. Were you trying to hide from me? That's a terrible sight. He made a face when she added that awful ending to his name. That little bad guy. No, now if you'll excuse me, I need to gouge out my eyes and hopefully prevent a mental scarring. After paying for his food, he turned around and ran like he had never run before. Along with running after him, Nariko yelled, you stupid Bakashi, I'll scar your ugly face. Itachi groaned and Makoto sneezed. Hey, Hiruzen took a quiet swallow. He had sweat running down his forehead. He closed his eyes and made up his mind. The Sandame's soft heart didn't belong here. The proud and royal-looking Yondaime stood next to him. Sandame-sama, it's time. He almost never hesitated when he nodded, bring him in. When the door opened, a tired Danzo with his eyes narrowed in slits came in. He was very angry. What's the meaning of this? You, Minato said. Shimura Danzo, member of Konoha's council, are hereby guilty for acts of treason and for the kidnapping and torture of the Uchiha heir, Uchiha Nariko, and her sibling, Uchiha Itachi. Nothing that you will say will make these accusations invalid. We have two reliable witnesses. Anbu. Restrain him with chakra suppressors. 4 people from Anbu showed up, and Kakashi was one of them. I demand a trial, was his answer. The two of them looked at each other. He knew what he was going to say. Denied. A Yamanaka will look into your mind and, Minato tensed up when he felt the chakra flare up. In the next round, Danzo and members of the Foundation fought very hard, along with the two Hokages and their Anbu shinobi. When his window broke, Minato quietly cursed. Danzo, stop this madness. Hiruzen, you had always been a fool. Your ideology will bring forth Konoha's destruction. I can't allow that to happen. One of his Anbu killed Danzo's Anbu. Minato flashed behind Kakashi and cut the throat of another Anbu member who was trying to kill his student. Kakashi dodged a kunai that was coming at him and almost ran into another Anbu member. He cursed that there wasn't more room and blocked another kunai with his own. When Hiruzen looked into the once respected Hokage office, he saw that it had been turned into a bloodbath. As Minato fought to keep Danzo from getting away, he was fuming. The building of the Hokage is already surrounded by a lot of ninjas. He told her in a cold voice, "You're done." Hey. He licked his lips, Orochimaru. As the Uchiha heir trained in the forest near the edge of Konoha, a predator kept an eye on her. After what happened in Iwa, you'd think she would have learned her lesson. He laughed at the idea that she was a once-in-a-generation gift. His eyes got narrow, and he hid like a snake. He was shocked when Noriko changed into Jiraiya. Orochimaru, on the orders of the Yondaime, more Anbu members showed up. You are hereby arrested for the kidnapping and experimentation on Konoha's citizens, and also for your recent attempt on attacking the Uchiha heir. The idea shocked Orochimaru. How did they understand? Because Danzo was careless, he made himself safer. For sure, he had been careful with how he moved. All of them. Don't make this hard on both of us. Please be quiet, Jiraiya said as he replaced the sword with a log and attacked his old best friend, feeling sad. It didn't matter to the snake Sannin. He attacked very hard because they took away his chance to marry the Uchiha heir. Hey. Two scary yellow eyes shone somewhere in Konoha. What shall your answer be? Violet Eyes looked at the thing that looked like a plant. He closed his eyes and made a dark sneer with his lips. Whatever it takes to become stronger. The two were no longer seen. The mission was completed. One more to go. Hey. As his pursuers chased him, Orochimaru fought and ran away. He didn't want to die. Not now, never. Not until he had reached his goal of living forever. It was stupid of them to attack him. Most especially that jerk Jiraiya. He was loudly breathing and kept his hand on the side that was bleeding. He had to leave this place. He could get away from those leaf jerks in one way. Getting to the cave where the Ibari clan members lived was important to him. The words, Orochimaru, you will not escape me, that Jiraiya yelled had a hint of hopelessness in them. The other shinobi laughed at that cocky jerk of a shinobi. He was already making progress. He tensed up when he saw something that looked like a plant standing in front of him. I have a proposition for you, Orochimaru. Hey. Jiraiya frowned when he got to the last place that was known to be Orochimaru. There was no doubt in his mind that he had been here. Now where in the name of Kami did he go? This is where his trails ended. Kuso. Sense out any location. We can't afford to lose him. The people in Anbu jerked their heads and scattered. At the same time, Jiraiya walked through a big tree's opening. He was sure that Orochimaru was going to come in this way. As he got to a large clearing, something foggy began to get thicker. He made his eyes narrow. This wasn't right. There was a lot of chakra in the air. He yelled, I know you're all hiding in the smoke. Come out. His voice was heard again. The mist changed into a shape that looked like a person and wrapped around him. It asked, Who are you? As he looked around, Jiraiya said, My name is Jiraiya, and I'm the Toad Sannin from Konohagakure. Please say your name as well. Konoha. I see. Everyone, it's safe, he's from Konoha. Jiraiya was shocked when people came out of the smoke. At least one man in his mid-30s changed into a human. My name is Gato from the Ibari clan. Welcome, Jiraiya from Konohagakure. He gaped like a fish. Had these people lived here before? Hey. Fugaku and Noriko were asked to come to the office of the Hokages. Noriko let out a gasp when they got there. What the hell happened here? She got hit on the head by Fugaku, who yelled, language. She pouted but didn't say anything. Sometimes her dad was scary. The office looked like Kurama had really gone crazy inside. Fugaku-san, Danzo was caught. Jiraiya and members of Anbu are also after Orochimaru, Minato said with his arms crossed. He sighed and said, "Follow me to the Torture and Information Department," as he left the office. People in Fugaku were happy to hear that the Warhawk had been caught. It was sad to hear that Orochimaru had gotten away, though. Noriko had found out about his cruel ways of testing on people. She found enough proof to put Orochimaru in jail for good when she accidentally found his hiding place. He was the reason why a lot of people from Konoha had disappeared. The Rinnegan could also be transplanted into the eye sockets of someone. That made them think Noriko would be the next person they would kill. They all came up with a plan. Jiraiya would stand in for Noriko and try to get Orochimaru to leave. Then they would catch him in the act. The jerk was unfortunately as slippery as a snake. Fugaku didn't care as long as the snake freak who stole Dojutsu was caught and killed. That was his only wish. His fists were clenched tightly, and he had a serious face. Noriko finally understood why she had been brought to this place once they got there. She had a fleeting thought that Jiraiya had put all of her new Rinnegan skills into groups and given them to Minato. As they looked through the one-way mirror, they saw Danzo sitting on a chair without any thought. "I know this isn't right of me to ask you, Noriko." But Danzo had sealed off his entire mind. No Yamanaka would be able to enter someone in a vegetative state. You're our last hope at reading his mind and finding out everything that he had planned out with the use of the Rinnegan. When Minato asked, Fugaku frowned. Was he really smart to tell his daughter such disgusting things? "Noriko, I know I'm asking a lot of you, but I'll do it." Noriko cut her off and quickly said she was sorry. It was the leader of the Uchiha clan who said, "Maybe you shouldn't do this, Noriko." "2-chan, I have to. I'm the only one left to acquire all of Danzo's information. Minato Oji, it'll be my first time using this technique. I only know the theory part. But by reading his mind, he will die." Fugaku gave in. Minato cocked his head, "Do what you must do." Noriko left the chamber and went into the room where Danzo was living. Her dad came after her, and Minato. She had a feeling that mind-raping someone would not be fun for her. She took a deep breath and turned on her Rinnegan, Kyukan no Jutsu. The soul was ripped out, and she got into Danzo's mind. When she was done, she blinked her eyes at all the new information. And screamed in pain. "Hey!" Fugaku swore and rushed to his daughter as she fell to the ground. He was sure this was a bad idea, but her daughter wouldn't listen to anyone or anything. She always got what she wanted when she set her mind to it, no matter what. He yelled, "You idiot," as he picked her up. "You stubborn child. Why don't you ever listen to me?" "2-chan, I got that from you," was her weak answer. He didn't want to choke her. The anger of Makoto wasn't worth it. "Hey!" Minato made a face. In the end, they were only able to put Danzo to death. He killed 3 Anbu members in his attack. Orochimaru got away and killed 2 more Anbu members. But they got all the information they needed from Danzo's mind. This included the existence of Root, the fact that the Shodai Hokage had been testing on many children, the fact that many clan children had gone missing, and the fact that they had been sent on missions across the shinobi nations without permission, ranging from infiltration to seduction. He was sick when Noriko used her Sharingan to write down everything and then showed it to him. The world of Konoha didn't need someone like Danzo. It was unacceptable for him to treat other shinobi in such a disgusting way. Some people from the Ibari clan were also caught when they started fighting Jiraiya because it was clear he was after Orochimaru. They were never able to beat the Toad Sannin, no matter how many of them there were. They were all over the place after one wind attack. With the help of the gravity seal, they had no choice but to give up, with no deaths on either end. He learned that Orochimaru had sealed them with a parasitic seal to keep their unfinished Kekkei Genkei in place, which earned him their respect for all time. But they wouldn't listen to Jiraiya as he tried to explain that Orochimaru had no plans to help them. After that, he came with Fugaku and Noriko. With what they found in Danzo's mind and her Rinnegan, the blue-eyed Uchiha showed them what Orochimaru planned to do to them. To kill everyone in their clan just to get away from the leaf. The people of the Ibari clan were shocked, angry, disgusted, and hurt by this. They were trapped, so Minato had to use a chakra suppressor to take them to T&I. This stopped their smoke transformation as well. He was even more shocked when he saw that there was only one child among all the adults. It made his blood run cold. All the other kids had died because of that gross snake. Terrible. The Ibari clan could see and feel the sun that day, for the first time. Hey, Yandaime-sama, all the root shinobis have returned from their missions. Let them in one by one, Minato said with a blank look. The bent-over shinobi gave a nod and walked away. When the door opened, Yakushi Nono walked in. Yakushi-san, have a seat. We have a lot to discuss. Since Danzo's cursed seal stopped the root members from telling anyone about how Danzo works, Nono could speak out without getting in trouble. After hearing the reason, Nono felt ashamed as she looked through the many pictures that were sent to her. She started to cry when she saw the most recent picture of Kabuto. The samurai shut his eyes. He still had a lot of ninjas to go who Danzo had hurt. Hey. Nono gave Kabuto a tight hug, which made his eyes widen, and tears ran down his face. Mother, is everything all right? She held her tears and shook her head. Hey. Minato rubbed his tired temples. Hiruzen was also working right next to him. Because it was his fault that Danzo was given so much freedom, the Sandaime told him he had to help out. Together, they sent all the clan kids back to the clan and all the orphans back to Konoha's orphanage, where Nono was put back in charge of caring for the kids. The rest of the root members were told to get mental health help from the Yamanakas. Inoichi was horrified to see what happened because of Danzo's harsh training methods. Hey. Fugaku gave his daughter a soft head pat and smiled. You have always been a strange and stubborn child, Noriko. Even when you were a mere baby. He laughed as happy memories came back to him. He smiled with happiness because he was calmer now that Danzo was dead and Orochimaru was no longer in Konoha. Noriko loved the way her father looked at her. Who would have thought that her haughty dad would be so great? They walked through the Uchiha compound together. It was close to the village center. The village has been trusting them more since Noriko was born. After the Nidaime's rule, the clan's discontent had gone away completely. For Fugaku, it was like a huge weight had been lifted off his shoulders. He couldn't explain how he felt, but he was glad it was over. Tu-chan, how come I have blue eyes? She knew the reason, but she still wanted to hear his story. People in the Uchiha clan were used to having black hair, but blue eyes were very rare. The way he looked at her was hard to read. When you were a newborn baby, you had bright blue eyes, like all newborn babes. Imagine our surprise when 6 months later you still had those blue eyes. Neither Makoto nor I had a family member with blue eyes. We don't know how you came to have those eyes instead of the Uchiha's black eyes. Normally, black should overwin the blue, but in your case it was completely different. Noriko hummed as she thought. What about the Rinnegan? Did someone from the Uchiha clan ever awaken it? That's a question I have no answer for. They kept walking until they came to a stop near a dango shop. Being fond of his daughter, Fugaku chose to take her out for dumplings. She shook her head, which surprised him. Tu-chan, have you ever tasted Ichiraku's ramen stand? He shook his head and frowned. Why did his gut tell him to run? It can't be that bad, right? The happy girl grabbed her dad by the arm and led him to Konoha's most beloved spot. Idling his daughter made him laugh, so he quickly picked her up and jumped on the roof. Noriko gasped in shock and grabbed her dad's flak jacket. Tu-chan. Fugaku replied with a smug grin, I'm hungry, Noriko. Noriko was stumped as she looked at her dad. Did her dad just try to make a joke? Hey, he couldn't believe his daughter was already on her 12th bowl of ramen. Tucci laughed in shame. Fugaku-san, your daughter sure has an appetite. What in the name of the sage did she do to eat all that? She made him think of Kushina Ero-sensei. He looked at the red-haired Uzumaki with wide eyes and locked eyes with her. She looked very pregnant. Of her. It was, Baka. Don't call me that. She tried to hit Noriko in the head, but the girl spun away before she could be hit. The pregnant woman finally sat down next to her student and began eating like a wild person. As she looked at him with disdain, she said, Fugaku. The word he used was, Kushina. The head of the Uchiha clan couldn't help but notice how much they looked alike now that they were sitting next to each other. His eyes got really big in shock. Noriko looked a lot like Kushina. There was a vein popping up on Fugaku's forehead as his fingers twitched. Kushina was to blame for his daughter's terrible eating habits. That awful woman. His lip turned up in a mean way. It was time to get back at them. It's my treat, Kushina, eat to your heart's content. When Noriko ate her ramen, she almost choked. Kushina, on the other hand, was left feeling both suspicious and happy. No matter where it came from, free food was still free food. The two women ate more than 40 bowls between them. That scene had never made Fugaku feel so bad. After that, it was time to pay the bill. Kushina said thanks and then vanished. Noriko said she was sick to get away quickly because she didn't want to see her angry father. But he didn't mind, it was getting easier for him. Sharingan Tucci and said, put it on the Uzumaki's tab. Then he walked out of the ramen stand like a boss. It had never been this sweet to get even, or salty in this case. Hey. Nei-chan. Sotsune-san had been here 2 hours ago. He had requested to meet up in the Uzumaki compound. Noriko stopped moving. Her eyes got bigger. Nani? No. Sotsune-sensei will kill me, Itachi. This 4-year-old boy laughed at his sister's over-the-top play. Sharingan turned on, and Noriko called up 4 clones. I haven't looked at the Fuinjutsu assignments that Sotsune-sensei had given me. Itachi stifled his laugh and turned to leave. Don't go. Stop, Noriko yelled desperately. Nei-chan. This is your fault. I had advised you to write down everything you needed to do in your notebook. I'm not going to help you. He walked away. Noriko got angry. Traitor, she wasn't paid attention to. When Itachi got home from training, he saw his sister in a terrible mood, her eyes wide and her mind going crazy. Must learn Fuinjutsu. Must finish this. And ran away as soon as she looked into his eyes. Hey. Noriko yelled, Obito, I missed you, and smacked him in the face with a hug. He laughed and returned the handshake. Yo, Ko-chan, guess what? What? He let her see his Junin coat. What? You've been promoted. This quickly? She asked with wide eyes. What's that supposed to mean? Noriko shook her head and laughed sheepishly. Nothing, I was surprised. Congratulations, Obito-kun. You're one step closer to destroying that Bakashi. He laughed loudly and pulled her toward the dango shop, and then Rin will have to love me. He told her how beautiful her hair was or how mesmerizing her eyes were, and she frowned. Man, people who were sad about love were terrible at poetry. Hey. Shi-chan. Bakashi. Kakashi gave her a mean look. He came here because Fugaku asked him to. You stupid Uchiha kid. Shisui smiled big and said, Ko-chan. With a smirk, Noriko said, I'll finish you in one move. He shook his head and pointed to Fugaku, who opened the door and ate dango outside, but she didn't listen to what he taught her. She was going to die. Oiroke no jutsu. When the smoke cleared, Shisui turned bright red and his eyes went wide. Kakashi gaped, and his cheeks turned red. They can hear choking sounds and coughing fits in the background. Noriko had changed her look to look like an older version of herself. Her hair was in a messy bun, and black bangs framed her heart-shaped face. A circle of rubies on her forehead. It looked good that her cheeks were red. She was wearing a red silk dress that you could see through, and she had gold chains around her body. It scared her when a furious Fugaku walked up between her and the two shinobi and said, Anyo Ip. As Fugaku yelled, Sweden. Mazurapa, he shot a jet of water at Noriko, which stopped her transformation and soaked her to the bone. Run and never talk about this again, or I will hunt you down and kill you in the worst ways possible, he told the boys, whose cheeks were red. They did what he asked, and even Kakashi was scared of the normally calm head of the Uchiha clan. He was angry and breathing loudly through his nose. His nostrils were flaring, and his face was red. That gross jutsu will never be used by you again. His eyes burned with the desire to kill. You're grounded for all time. Nani? If Makoto came back from her trip to Kushina, she would see Fugaku moving around and mumbling to himself. Anata, is everything alright? Makoto, what have we done wrong with Noriko's education? He asked her with a wild look in his eyes. Makoto thought Fugaku needed some time to calm down. Hey. Jiraiya's laughter could be heard all over the clearing. The story that Noriko told was absolutely wonderful. Her cheeks were red. Her pouty face said, "It's not fair. How can you be so stupid to use that technique in front of your father?" She fought back, but I didn't know he was there. He put his hands on his sides and said, "Oh Kami, I wish I had been there." "Believe me," Noriko said with a chill, "you wouldn't. Even Bakashi ran like hell." He laughed out loud as he fell to the ground. "Fine. I'm leaving." "No, wait, I can do that." He tried not to laugh, but he couldn't. "I'll practice the toad summoning jutsu somewhere else, you stupid pervert." She ran away from her stupid sensei and didn't care about his jab. "It looks like you're an even bigger pervert, Noriko-chan." "Hey." Rin gave a smile. "It's good to have you working here at times, Noriko-chan." Noriko rubbed her head and smiled back. "Well, it's one of the few things that Tu-chan allowed me to do. Can't complain though, I love helping people." The medic Nin with brown hair laughed softly. She knew that Fugaku had grounded Noriko after seeing how bad her sexy no jutsu was. That wasn't a smart move. Angry, Noriko sighed, "I know, Rin-chan. It stinks." She laughed, and the two of them walked to the hospital. "Nay, I've been meaning to ask, but what's up with you and Bakashi?" Rin tensed up and looked around. "Did the jerk hurt you? You've been so sad lately," Noriko asked with a frown. "No, it's no thing." But Uchiha, with his blue eyes, saw right through it. "Then why did you stutter? And why aren't you looking at me?" "Rin, you're a bad liar," she told me. Noriko was shocked when Rin broke down and cried while telling her everything, from what she said to Kakashi's answer. "Hey, Jiraiya-sensei, how is Akatsuki doing?" "They are doing a damn good job, if I may say so. Ever since the civilian war broke out, Hanzo had been losing support from the important clans. They're joining Akatsuki. Everyone in Omegacure wants a new future, a better one. One without Hanzo." Minato said, "Good, we'll send some troops over there to help Akatsuki out. If they succeed, then we'll have a trustworthy ally in the village hidden in the rain." "Minato, we can't really count Suna as our ally. They're starting to become bitter with their financial crisis because the Wind Daimyo is giving us all the missions." It was annoying for the Yondaime to sigh. As soon as he solved one problem, two more would pop up. "I'll try to call a meeting with the Yondaime Cage. Hopefully we can come to an agreement." He rubbed his chin and asked, "What have you done with the Ibari clan members?" "Sotsune's sensei has created a stabilizing seal, which helps them to control their smoke transformation. Gradually on, they can lessen the strength of the seal until they are able to utilize their Kekkei Genkai. In return, they have pledged their honor to Konoha and they have been granted with a small compound. Those who had been loyal to Orochimaru have been locked up in Konoha's strict correctional facility." He smiled. "It seems that you're trying to fill the deserted compounds. First the Uzumaki and now the Ibari." Minato said, "As long as it makes Konoha stronger, then I don't see anything wrong with it. Besides, if we don't take them, other ninja villages would do so. We can afford to lose strong, capable Kekkei Genkais." What did Jiraiya think of his student's answer? "I'm proud of you, Minato." Minato blushed and laughed in shame. "Arigato, sensei." "Hey." Noriko yelled as she put on her sandals, "Ka-chan, I'm going to train." "Nei-chan, can you get me dango when you get back?" Itachi asked as he came out of the kitchen. "Sure, Kai-chan." Getting a squirrel-like grin, he glared at her when she called him by that name. He was about to say something when Mikoto spoke up and said, "Oh, and some pickled sushi as well." Her kids both looked at her. "What? I find it delicious." She jerked back as a sharp pain shot through her stomach. Things were going crazy in her head, and her legs were weak. Noriko's eyes got bigger. Her mom yelled, "Noriko, get me to the hospital right away, my water broke." She picked up her mom and said, "Itachi, get on my back." The three-person family sped off to the hospital right away. "Hey, Fugaku-sama, your wife is in the hospital." The leader of the clan looked at his wife with wide, shiny eyes. "Tu-chan. Ko-nei-chan told me to wait here for you. Follow me." Fugaku was shocked at first by how grown-up his son sounded, but he quickly got over it. There are more important things to do. He asked, "Where is Noriko?" "She's helping out Rin and the medical nins." He gave a nod, happy that his daughter was with his wife. So they could wait. They sat down in the waiting room. Fugaku was scared and couldn't stop himself. He only hoped that his wife and child would be okay. Hey. Noriko put a cool sponge on her mom's forehead. Ka-chan, you can do it. Push harder. She let out a breath and pushed with all her might. She winced when her mother jerked back in pain, letting tears fall from her eyes. Just a little bit more. She let out a big breath with wide eyes. This is what the medic Nin said. Makoto-sama, one last push and the baby will come out. With all her strength, the Uchiha matriarch pushed, but the pain made her lose her sight. She didn't stop pushing until she felt empty and heard something hit her. A baby's cry came next. Noriko was shocked when she saw the birth of her old best friend. Before, they were almost related, but not by blood. He was now her real brother. She could not believe how much love was in her body. She stood there with her eyes fixed on the boy as he was given to her mother. She began to cry with happiness as her eyes got teary. Sasuke is perfect. Ka-chan. Her mother smiled tiredly and looked at her new baby boy with loving eyes. Hi. Hey. When Fugaku looked at his wife, he almost started to cry. God had given him another son as a gift. He hoped they would be just as great as his two kids. He smiled big when he held his son. Sasuke, you'll make us proud, just like Noriko and Itachi. His kids looked at him and smiled two big smiles. We'll protect him with our lives, isn't that right, Kai-chan? Ignoring his nickname, Itachi just nodded. Makoto let out a weak laugh, but her smile was as big as the sun. She had a loving husband and 3 wonderful children. Everything in her life was perfect. It was perfect for her. So, the family of 4 now had a 5th member. Uchiha Sasuke was born on July 23rd. Hey! For Sasuke's birth, the Uchiha family threw a big party. There were Uchiha fans all over the compound, which lit it up. Nara, Yamanaka, Akamichi, Aburame, Sarutobi, and many other important clan heads had also come. The Uzumaki clan was their honored guest and got a seat closer to the front than the other clans. Minato had also gone to the party. He wore a dark blue kimono that was tied with a lighter blue color. Kushina was dressed in a beautiful kimono with pink sakuras on it. Hiruzen had come with his wife and 2 sons. At night, the sky was clear, and the stars looked beautiful. It looked like everyone was having a good time. Noriko couldn't believe who she was and how much her birth had changed things. She put her arm around her little brother and looked down at him. You know, Itachi, I wish we could forever remain like this. When Itachi closed his eyes, he felt calm and peaceful. Me too, Nei-chan. Noriko was horrified to see Konoha being killed while huge groups of white Zetsu seemed to swallow it up whole. One minute she was enjoying the peace with her siblings, and the next there were demons' roars all over her village. She felt like her heart was going to burst out of her chest, and she could feel it all over her body. This is not likely to be true. It was different now. She changed it like fuck. Things were meant to get better, not stay the same. Were the changes she made doomed to fail? Are her parents going to die? Perhaps by herself. Could Itachi be used as a piece? No matter how hard she tried, would death still take everyone she had saved? There were so many sobs in her body, and her heart was beating so fast that she couldn't hear anything. Nei-chan. Itachi's shaky voice woke her up from her dark thoughts. She blinked her tears away and looked down at her brothers. While Itachi tried to keep his cool, she could tell that the corrosive chakra was making him feel bad. Huge tears were running down Sasuke's cheeks as he cried his heart out. To protect them, she forced herself to stay calm and grabbed Itachi's hand tightly. That's when her crazy mother ran outside and yelled to her kids, Noriko, take your siblings to the safe houses. However, Noriko could see that her mother was not in any shape to fight, but she would give her life to protect her children. Makoto was a fierce kunoichi when it came to her family. She would give up her life for them, but Noriko wouldn't let her. After giving birth to Sasuke about 3 months ago, her mother was not fit to fight. Ka-chan, I can't let you fight just because you're sick. You need to find shelter with. She stuttered as her father walked in, covered in dirt and shaking hands that were soaked in blood. She tried to hide it from Itachi, but it didn't matter. Her brother would soon see more death in this war-torn world. She had no idea why this was happening. It was fixed by her. Please punish Madara and Zetsu. Send them all to the lowest levels of hell. Makoto, I need you to take the kids to the Hokage Mountains. All the old people, civilians, and kids are going there. Fugaku could see the anger in his wife's eyes. Please, I have never asked anything from you. He knew it was wrong to ask her to do this, but he wanted to make sure that if he died, their kids would have one parent to teach them about life in the clan. He would not know what to do if this demon fox killed his wife or children. Please, Makoto. The matriarch of the Uchiha clan closed her eyes and tried very hard not to cry. It wouldn't stay dry, though, so she let it out. She wanted to fight, shout her protest, and let him know that she had just as much of a right to fight with him. One look at her scared kids, though, broke her resolve, and she choked out the words like they were stabs. Anata, I will never forgive you if you don't come back to me. As soon as Nariko's overprotective mother stepped away from the fight, she let out a happy sigh. From time to time, Fugaku was a blessing. She could tell he was having a hard time staying strong, though. When her mom looked at her with fear in her eyes, her world stopped spinning. But before her mom could say anything, Nariko spoke up. I will fight with Tu-chan. I can't do anything, Ka-chan. Out of the corner of her eye, she saw the crowds running toward the mountain and the white cloud that seemed to be getting closer all the time. I shall take you three to the safe house. Tu-chan, stay safe until I find you again. With baby Sasuke in his arms, Fugaku kissed his wife on the forehead and moved to mess up Itachi's hair. He quickly gave Nariko a serious nod and said, I leave them in your capable hands, my daughter. It made her eyes tear up, but she held them back because she didn't want to look weak in front of her strong-willed father. He was very important and should be respected. I won't disappoint you, Tu-chan, that is a promise of a lifetime. With a stern nod, he left them in a cloud of fiery leaves. Hey! Shisui was scared. There were no words to describe how scared he was. It seemed to shake him to his core. This scary, dark power was too much for even the most experienced veterans. He had no idea how other people could move back and forth. He could no longer hear loud noises and could see scared faces moving left and right. He shook his head and clenched his teeth so hard that his jaws hurt, trying to get some control back over his body. He wouldn't stop until he could hear the terrifying roars that echoed around him. He could feel and see the poisonous chakra around him. It was even clear enough to see with the naked eye. It hurt his throat, his skin, and everything else it touched. Its tangled webs wrapped around him and lulled him to sleep with words of anger, cruelty, and old-fashioned hate. After that, Shisui, his world stopped spinning, and he saw a chakra that was so powerful that it pushed the dark, heavy one away. He gasped for air and sucked like a baby for the first time. He didn't hear anything in his head for a moment. As clear as glass. Hey! Nariko raised an eyebrow in worry as she watched Shisui take loud breaths and shake like a leaf. No joke meant at all. Are you all right? When her best friend looked up, her eyes were so bright with determination that it shocked her. So this was the famous Shunshin no Shisui, who was slowly becoming the man he would become. His fame would grow right in front of her eyes. She was excited to see his legacy because she had been interested in it. The selfless Shisui, said Itachi in the future. She was sure that the Kyuubi attack had had a big effect on his childhood, if he had one in her past life. She put out her hand and waited for him to grab it. No, but I will be, he said. Hey! As the green turned into a bulging white that seemed to get bigger every second, Hiruzen felt nothing but fear. After taking one look at his stressed-out wife, he put on his final armor and called on his loyal Enma. He would give it his all if this was his last fight. Ready to face my enemies for the last time. Enma, the summon that was said to be stronger than diamonds, gave a jerky nod and said, always, my dear friend. Her eyes were narrowed as she saw the danger. The last Lady Hokage couldn't say anything to her husband. She couldn't bring herself to cry. Because she didn't have any. She wanted to curse the world, but she knew she had to keep her cool for the sake of her husband and children. The people in her village needed her to stay strong and calm. Hey. Hey. When Shisui and Nariko showed up, Obito and Kakashi were hacking away at their enemies. What took you two so long? When one of the Zetsus got too close to Obito for comfort, the Uchiha heiress growled and Shinra Tensei the little shit. She wasn't going to hide anything. No matter what the consequences were, she would use everything she owned. These stupid spores were making the Uchiha district clean. She yelled back, mad that everyone was messing with her in this way. She had no idea if Kushina was still alive. If the other person was still alive. Did they even come into the world? She begged all the gods that her counterpart wouldn't die because she was in this timeline in a strange way. She could hear Kurama's loud roars from a long way away. His tails were breaking everything in their way. Without any kindness at all. To get the fox to understand, she had to get close to him. Since Obito wasn't controlling the fox, it was unclear who was. Only Madara or Black Zetsu could do it. That person would pay, no matter who it was. No one came and attacked her village. Hey. 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 After a while, her dad joined in. He yelled in a loud voice, Nariko, tell me what's going on. As he kicked a white Zetsu hard. It launched the mass blob toward the other Zetsu. The Uchiha heiress narrowed her purple eyes and dove out of the way of a hail of kunai. This is not good enough. Their bodies would tire out too quickly for her taste. These things would not tire out before them. Because they were made with the God Tree, they had endless strength. If she was being honest, this scared her a lot. Chu-chan, we can't keep going like this. They will storm us as soon as we get tired, was a more honest statement. She clenched her teeth and called up a huge army of clones, feeling desperate and afraid for her rapidly decreasing chakra reserves. It was already clear that Fugaku's chakra was running low. Obito was doing better, but Shisui was losing his grip. The people around her were fighting for Konoha, but they didn't know that the only reason Konoha would fall was because she was here. When she punched another Zetsu in the face, she loved hearing it grunt in pain. She ran away from a huge Zetsu with 3 heads because she didn't have time to enjoy the moment. She looked at the Zetsu with her Rinnegan eyes, trying to come up with an idea. She could see the flow of chakra inside it. It's possible that she could drain their chakra, making it impossible for them to heal or even get back up and fight again. With her lips pulled up, she called up 2 more clones and gave each of them 2 Rasengan. She ran straight at the creature, dodging the Zetsu's hits, without giving it a second thought. Her clones moved first as bait, and she tried not to flinch when the huge mass killed both of them. They turned into smoke with just one strong punch. Beautiful, right? She danced her way closer as quickly as she could. To test her idea, all she needed was one touch. She rolled under its legs, grabbed one of its legs, and sucked its life force. She felt better when she saw the giant quickly shrinking until there was just a puddle of goo left. Nasty, TT Ibeo. Her eyes got a little bigger, and she hoped no one heard her stupid mistake. It showed up again after all these years. Still, she felt a surge of warmth inside her. She still had that part of her. She pursed her lips with a sly grin and said, time to suck these bitches. Far to the left of her, she heard Fugaku yelling, Nariko, for the love of the sage, language. Hey, 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 are you insane? Nariko winced when her angry father spoke out, setting fire to his Sharingan. At least some people would have to be persuaded of this, she thought to herself. While that was going on, her clones were slowly eating the white Zetsu. In a strange turn of events, the extra chakra was too much for her clones, and they all blew up into chakra particles. After getting their memories back, it made her feel really strange. It did give them time to calm down and get back together. With a frown on her face, Nariko tried to persuade her father, my Rinnegan can help us. I need to do this. She froze in fear when she felt the familiar chakra from the person she hated the most, even more than Madara. But she still couldn't forgive the man, even after he had made things right. He had been horrible to Konoha and was still being unfair to him. Pushing her behind him, Fugaku took the Uchiha stance, spinning Sharingan all over the place and spat out, Orochimaru. The name made her turn away in disgust. Right in front of her, Orochimaru showed up with the hungriest look she had ever seen and a tongue sticking out. Not even Sasuke had seen that look. She got goosebumps all over, and she wanted to leave this place right away. She stayed put only because she was stubborn and determined. The snake man looked different from before. She paid close attention to him and saw that his eyes were off. That's when she knew. He was now able to use his wise power. When did he do that? Chu-chan, he's in sage mode, she said in a low voice, making sure he couldn't see her lips. Do you have more information about this? He asked with his eyes narrowed into slits. No need, Noriko said with a tug on her lips. We got one on our side. Her heart beat faster when she felt Jiraiya's chakra spike aggressively, along with Fukasaku and Shima, the Toad Elders. She was shocked when she saw that Jiraiya didn't look like a toad like usual. Had he been training his sage mode so that he could use it without the Elders' help? Hey! 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 What do we owe your surprise visit for, Orochi-kun? Jiraiya asked his childhood friend turned traitor with a smirk. His grin got even bigger when he saw the tick mark on Orochimaru's forehead that said, Fugaku, I got this covered. Take Noriko-chan away from here. He laughed even more when the missing nin turned away from the Uchiha Patriarch with his furious eyes. I won't let you get away with my prize. Came the loud yell, Kuchio's no jutsu. And Manda appeared in front of them, surrounded by wisps of smoke and hissing dangerously as poison dripped from his tongue. His eyes lit up as the poison ate away at the ground. His size was enough to paralyze someone, but his eyes were even worse. He had never liked the King of Snakes, but they had always felt the same way about each other. At the very least, Gamabunta wouldn't say no to Manda's help. They had never agreed with each other. He believed it would stay the same. I guess it's my turn now, he thought. He bit his thumb, yelled, Kuchio's no jutsu, and jumped on top of the toad with the sword. Most people had left the summon fight by this point. Anyone smarter than them would avoid getting between them because they would get squashed like a bug. Hey! Hey! With soothing sounds, Itachi held Sasuke closer to his chest. Since Noriko dropped them off at the safe house, his mother wouldn't let go of them. It was hard for him not to look weak, so he blinked his eyes. The world he grew up in was made with the blood of innocent people. Were they able to make peace? He would say, no, right now if someone asked him that question. He felt bad about this. But he didn't believe what his sister said, even though they were very sweet. In the end, they were just words. He had doubts about his faith, which made him even more scared. Itachi-chan. When he opened them, he saw his mother's worried eyes staring into his while her Sharingan was spinning all over the place. He didn't need to make her worry about himself because she was already stressed. He lied to his mom for the first time by saying, I'm fine, Ka-chan. He felt dead on the inside. Hey! Hey! Kakashi threw another fireball at the group of Zetsu coming at them, but it didn't stop them. They never stopped coming, and he felt a little scared. He had no idea where Sensei was or how the Kyuubi got away. Since Kushina had been the Jinchuriki, he knew that she should have been hurt. What, though? With each second that went by, he could feel himself getting stiffer and tired. They needed more help quickly. Hey! Hey! Minato narrowed his eyes and stared at the thing that looked like a plant. He was furious. Whatever it was going to fall. He would make sure of it. It was too late to be kind after it had threatened his wife and firstborn child. It would show why he was called the Yellow Flash by most people. Your tricks won't work on me if you can't touch me, it told him with a strange look in its eye. He thought he should be careful around this thing because its chakra was dark and old. Of times gone by, after seeing two white Zetsu take his bleeding wife and crying son, Minato was having a hard time keeping his cool. While moving his feet, he threw all of his kunai at her. You will regret touching my family and Konoha. If it meant the world to him, he would make that thing fear him. Minato took one step and was gone in an instant. Hey! 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 Noriko felt calm all of a sudden when she looked at her dad. She had no idea what made him change his mind, but being stubborn had let her control Kurama. She wasn't sure what she would do, though. How did someone stop a huge fox that was running amok? Any ideas? She laughed in shame as she hopped from roof to roof, dodging falling rocks and trees. Nariko, tell me you have a plan. Her father asked her with a shocked look. I go by the spur of the moment, Chu-chan. She laughed nervously. Nariko. They looked like apes, and Kurama snarled at them and wanted to kill all of them. He hated people in general because he thought they were all out to control, possess, and abuse their powers for their own gain. This made him hate them more and more every time he saw them. He hadn't been so angry since his father died until that disgusting Uchiha caught him and treated him like a pet. After that, he was captured and chained like an animal. His pride was taken away, and his freedom was taken away. He had never felt so ashamed. He loved seeing how desperate they were as he smashed through another building with one of his tails. Along with his crazy desire for blood, it was almost tangible. He roared, "Scream, you lowly humans! Beg for mercy!" He got great pleasure from hearing their cries for help, but he wouldn't spare any of them. Keep screaming, fleshbags. He licked his lips and said, "Uzumaki." All of a sudden, a sea of red appeared in front of him. They had always been a wonderful treat with their unique chakra, even though he hated them. Both Uzumaki Mito and Kushina were still on his mind. He was going to kill that sick woman and rip her baby apart in front of her. Yes, that picture would make her forget about wanting to get back at him for all the times she put the seal on him. He threw little Biju bombs at them and loved hearing their screams. He needed more anger, pain, and fear. It wasn't like these lowly creatures were useful for anything, not even work. He did the world a favor by getting rid of them. There would be less filth on the ground. He stopped throwing trash around when he saw a flash of purple, and Kurama felt like the world stopped. Father, hey, hey. Fugaku looked at the demon fox with wide eyes as it stopped moving at all. It looked at his daughter with its ruby red eyes. He was scared to death. Things seemed to get even more tense. As the minutes went by, the tension rose tenfold and the silence became unsettling. He had lost track of what was going on. Is there a link between the demon fox and his first child? He turned away from the demon and looked at his own body. He could see that she, too, was staring so intently at the Kyuubi that it confused him. He was shocked when his child walked toward the fox. Nariko, have you gone crazy? He asked with wide eyes. Hey, hey. Zetsu made a face as he dove around the Yondaime Hokage. His stomach was bleeding black blood. He didn't think the brat was as bad as he was, and he wouldn't do that again. If his mother had known, she would have been so mad at him. She shouldn't have been able to see this. Looks like I underestimated you. TCH. Minato made another Rasengan with his hand and flash stepped to Zetsu's left, right, left, left again, and then above him. He felt his lips curl up in a sneer. It let out an inhuman scream, and he jumped back when black tendrils came out of its body and tried to reach him. He felt uncomfortable around this creature and knew he shouldn't touch it in any way. He narrowed his eyes even more and thought of a way to do it. He had to keep the creature's attention off of himself while his copy worked. Then he had to figure out how to lock up this crazy person. Black Zetsu let out a yell of anger and ran forward. This made Minato smile with pride. He had thought of the best way to do this. Hey, hey, hey. To make sure he didn't fall off Gamabunta, Jiraiya put chakra on his souls. That would be so sad if that happened. His reputation would be ruined, which meant, no girls. Manda rushed forward like a pack of vipers ready to attack, while Orochimaru, as usual, had a mean look on his face. There's nothing new here. It wasn't even like they were at odds with each other. It was so strange for him that he didn't know what to think about it. In fact, he didn't know how his best friend had become this sad excuse for a person. He had lost all humanity in his eyes. The wise man had always known that his friend was different, but he never thought it would turn out to be this. Gamabunta jumped high and threw out a huge water torpedo that hit the Hokage mountain. When Jiraiya saw Orochimaru calling up more snakes, he moaned. The game never ended. He called up Gameiken and Gamahiro by copying his moves. He had to finish quickly because time was running out. Hey! Hey! While he was cutting through another white Zetsu, Kakashi groaned and wondered why he hadn't died yet. This was Guy's loud voice. Don't let the power of youth fade away. as he kicked another Zetsu in the face. The Junin had no idea how Guy was always able to move so easily. He was willing to risk everything he had on the expert in taijutsu killing more white Zetsu than him. It was amazing and scary how strong he was. Youth. He almost grimaced. Almost. Hey. 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 Kushina coughed up blood and reached for her child. Place ease. The two white Zetsus just stared. Please give me back my child. She couldn't help herself. She would say or do anything to get her child back. Someone grabbed her red hair and growled, "Don't you dare move or the baby dies. Right here, right now." To make their point, the Zetsu who were holding Naruto the baby shook the baby very hard. Its face was only covered with a mean smile. Naruto the baby cried out loud. And Kushina clenched her teeth and drew kanji in the dirt with her blood. And cutting off her red hair to make her seal stronger. Little by little, oh, she would hurt them. Hey. 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 Obito ran toward Rin while carrying a Shisui who was bleeding. His Sharingan was going on and off. He was going crazy with all the sudden changes. He was also dying because he had almost no chakra. When he was no longer a soldier, how was he going to protect anyone? Obito, said Junin turned around when he heard the voice of his childhood friend and ran to her. Rin. You have to help him. He was hit by one of the spores and now his body isn't working right. He kept talking, and his nerves were about to turn to ash. Quick, bring him here. Shisui groaned in pain and held his stomach as the white substance on his left arm kept spreading and covering his whole body. Obito was horrified to see more people with the same problem. All of them being soaked up by the white liquid. Hey. 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 When Noriko looked at Kurama, she couldn't help but smile. She hadn't seen him in a very long time. The memories came flooding back, and she felt homesick. Not father, Kurama, it's me, mother. She couldn't stop herself from calling him names. Kurama closed his eyes and raised his paw, trying to squash this useless piece of meat. Kurama, you've been a bad boy. Noriko yelled in anger. Hey now, that's not nice. Cease talking, you weak human, and die. His eyes got very narrow. Don't you dare say my name either. She felt happy for some strange reason. Kurama, how many times have I told you not to play with your food? Noriko's eyes got really big when she saw the signs of a Biju bomb coming up. Great, Furball can't take a joke. At the same time, Fugaku was shaking with rage. Because his daughter did this to him, he should spank her. Hey. 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 Kurama was scared, but he didn't want to say it. The words of his father kept playing over and over in his head. He had never thought he would see those eyes again. Hey. Hey. When Noriko used her Rinne Sharingan, her tomos started spinning all over the place. She had to make Kurama remember the good times they had together. The fox knew about the Sharingan, so it took her a few tries to look him in the eyes. But as soon as she was able to do it, she sent all of her chakra forward. She liked it, even though it was a little too hard for her. You runt, you really are weak. You better be grateful to me, and to your beloved fourth Hokage, who sealed me inside a twerp like you. Hey, hey, destroy everything, erase everything that hurts you, and trust your heart to me, I will save you from your pain. You don't have what it takes to control my power. You're nothing more than a mere fragment of my hatred. Are you stupid? I am the Nine Tails. I haven't fallen so far that a little child can influence me. I am hatred incarnate. Hey, I suppose I can't kill you, can I? After all, you die, I die. Your courage is impressive, little boy, very well, as a reward for making it this far, I will loan you my chakra. Sorry but, this guy doesn't suit your words. The fourth Hokage entrusted me to Naruto, we became friends and now he's able to use my chakra. The fourth sealed me into Naruto, to take you down. Hey, hey, hey. When Minato bit his thumb, he called up the great fire-breathing toad's esophagus. Kuchiyos. Gamaguchi Shibari. The scene changed, and to his great delight, he saw Zetsu's eyes flicker with fear. That's right, it would be the last thing he did to make this jerk pay. After that, he had to look after Konoha. He could leave it with the Sandaime, Jiraiya, and the rest of Konohagakure for now, though. Tentacles made of meat came out of all directions and tried to catch the black creature. He did have to say, though, that the plant-human hybrid was good at getting away from them. Is this all the Yondaime Hokage can do? Zetsu yelled out of control, his eyes empty and completely black. I'm just beginning, Minato said with venom. Hey. Hiruzen Sarutobi had seen a lot in his whole life. While they were fighting, the Kyuubi stopped and turned his attention to the Zetsu and Orochimaru. This made his eyes pop out of their sockets. This was really shocking. Slowly, even the poisonous mist full of hate was going away. The good news is that this was the perfect time to attack back and take advantage of the enemy's confusion. He wouldn't ask questions right now because he had to protect his village. Hey. On the day his daughter was born, Fugaku was given a miracle that he had never seen before. He stood still with his eyebrows above his hairline. Even with the help of a dojutsu, how could one girl control a demon? The fact that his little girl had so much power scared him to death. But his daughter would only use her magic to help other people. She could have abused them, but she hasn't up to now. He was very proud of this. Since Nariko was born, the Uchiha family had done very well. He had love, family, clan, and Konoha's respect. Everything he had hoped for was right in front of him. He was not going to give up any of this good stuff. His only hope was that Makoto would never find out that he had let Nariko fight the demon fox. I think he'd be buried at least 10 feet deep. Hey. Nariko had never been so thrilled, happy, and in love with her best friend. Kurama, let's do this, like the old times. When Orochimaru called out a snake, Kurama replied, boy, after this fight we need to talk about the future. The person who held the Rinnegan agreed loudly and called up 2 clones to gather natural energy and mix it with their chakra. We need to find Minato and Kushina too. I don't know where they are. It's too chaotic for me to focus. Kurama made a disgusted face when different things got dirty on his beautiful fur. How had his old self dealt with being this dirty? Nariko said in a low voice, I hate Zetsu. And he heard her. Stop complaining and use that pea-sized brain of yours to stop this invasion. The ancient beast growled. She laughed and said, grumpy as ever, I see. Focus, brat, hey. Kushina smiled slyly and said, Fuin, Shinko Kimusho. Her red strands lit up and soaked up all the blood, making pillars. All of them were linked to each other, making a red prison where she was the goddess. She said, now you're in my world, and her dark eyes shone with anger. That was all the time she had to destroy them and get her child back. Also, all of her chakra was gone. Because she was in such bad shape, she was pushing herself too hard when she used this sealing jutsu, which was a pain in the ass. She had to kill or be killed, though. She was born into this world. Life for the fittest, not surprisingly. With a flick of her fingers, she sent red strands into the cave to attack the Zetsu there. She hoped Minato would come soon because she was tired and hadn't got any chakra left. Hey. When Aoi sneaked past the upset Anbu and straight to the Hokage office, he smiled with pleasure. He would win and make everyone afraid of him. Those jerks who looked down on him will deeply regret it. Hey. When Orochimaru's skin slowly peeled off to reveal new skin, Jiraiya made a face. He had always found this move creepy, but he seemed to have changed it since the last time they met. Both of them had to send their summons back to save chakra after the battle. Hawaii was a little safer than it used to be. Even so, he was still sad to see it fall apart. It broke his heart to see Konoha in this state because it had always been his home and where he had grown up. He also said, give up, Orochimaru. You can't win this anymore, his eyes moving to the Kyuubi's evil presence. It was a pleasant surprise to see it fight for Konoha instead of against it. But he still wants to know what happened that made the Kyuubi change his mind. Not even Snake Sanin could stand to look at the nine-tailed beast without getting scared. Any normal person would be scared when they saw such a powerful being. He wasn't going to give up so easily, though. If there was one thing he was good at, it was running away. He hissed angrily, angry that Konoha's fall wouldn't happen today. You're even more stupid than I thought was humanly possible. He was angry that he couldn't kill his sensei, his old teammate, and this awful village. I'll come back, and when I do, Konoha will burn. He then sank into the ground, leaving Jiraiya with 3 clones to keep him busy. Hey! Hey! Kushina moaned in pain, but she couldn't hold back her laughter as she held her baby boy safely in her arms. There were 15 dead white Zetsus all around them, and the red prison was glowing eerily in the dark. Who said she had to be the princess in trouble? It was possible for her to do this without any help from a man. She would like a hug from Minato, though. Having it would make everything feel whole. The old woman in the whirlpool smiled tiredly and cooed at her son, "It's okay, Naruto-kun. Ka-chan is here. Don't worry." Her eyes were heavy, and she kept nodding off until she fell asleep. Hey! 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 The shinobi with blonde hair got a mean look from Zetsu, who wanted to break every bone in his miserable body. You will regret this. His whole plan had failed from the start. Because of that stupid fox and this single man. Mother would send Madara to hell if she ever heard this. In fact, Madara would be very angry. He had another way to get away from Konoha, though. He took out the transportation tag and sent chakra to it. A purple glow appeared, and a body appeared next to him. You called, Zetsu-sama. With a grin, Zetsu looked at his new recruit, who was from Konoha's famous Uchiha clan, and said, "Shin, teleport us away." They both passed out inside the fire-breathing toad, along with the Yondaime Hokage. Hey! Hey! Noriko had to cheer as loud as she could. Her happiness was pouring out of her. She was good at saving Konoha, and she probably knew how to do it by now. She was so tired from sitting on top of Kurama's head and enjoying the victory and safety of her village. She just wanted to stay in bed and sleep for the rest of her days. Peace was close, but there was too much to do in this world. She was going to do it. She was sure she could. She had to be careful with all the changes she made, though. The future was becoming less clear at this point. That's why most of what would happen would also be a surprise to her. Kurama looked at Fugaku with angry red eyes and grumbled, "Brat, tell that damned Uchiha to shut down his Sharingan or I'll blast his head off." When she looked down, she saw her dad staring at her with a sour face. She couldn't help but laugh in shame and send her dad the peace sign. He just stared with a blank face, not interested and very angry. The royal daughter of Uchiha thought her father would make things very awkward. Hey! 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 Jiraiya was shocked when she saw Kushina, who was pale, and her crying baby. His nephew, Naruto. He thought back to the day they told them the good news. He was thrilled. At that very moment, he was having a hard time being happy. This wasn't good news for Minato. He wasn't sure what the boy who was now a dad would do. As he got closer to them, he knelt down and touched the Uzumaki on the forehead. The strange feeling made him jump back in fear. His eyes got as big as saucers, and he picked them up and teleported to the hospital. He hoped that what he thought would happen didn't happen. Hey! Hey! As Minato flashed from place to place, he sealed each white Zetsu in his scroll. At the end of the day, he had to burn this so that no one could use it against Konoha. You could feel how angry he was, and neither Jiraiya nor Hiruzen were brave enough to say anything to him. Chakra blazing hot and lash out at everything in its path. The people who were doing this to him, his family, and Konoha made him want to scream, attack, destroy, crush, and kill them. He wanted to hurt Zetsu badly because he had spit on his wife and hurt his baby boy. He had a strong desire to stab Orochimaru 1,000 times. He really wanted to. Minato tripped and lost focus on his move, falling to the ground. He didn't think this would happen. Everything went well yesterday. He ate dinner with Kushina and then went to bed. All at once, everything had gone well. Until now, Yondaime Hokage felt like his whole world fell apart. He was lost, by himself, and mad at the world. Hey! 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 Makoto couldn't take his eyes off the coffin as it was being lowered. She was shocked. She wouldn't even believe this was happening in front of her eyes. How did this happen? Things went badly in an instant, and it was all unfair. Especially since she had left her husband and a new baby son behind. It wasn't her fault that she couldn't see Minato at the funeral. She was also working very hard not to fall to her knees and cry so hard. She hoped that her best friend's husband and a close friend would make it through this. If not for him, then for the sake of his child. Naruto would need his dad's love and help. Here lies Uzumaki Kushina, beloved wife, mother, and friend to all, it said on the grave. Her eyes flickered back to the writing. She closed her eyes and cried as she spoke. Hey. Noriko thought that things were too happy for what they were. As people in Konoha rebuilt the village stone by stone, the sun was shining brightly and there wasn't a cloud in the sky. The area around her hometown was eerily quiet, turning the once happy village into a walking graveyard. She promised herself that her first life parents would live, but she broke her promise. She failed so badly that she didn't know what to say or do. Noriko was so ashamed of herself that she wouldn't even look at her parents or Minato. But most of all, she was afraid to look at Naruto the baby. The opposite of her. The person from whom she took his mother. She was so sad that she could only stare at the grave of her mother.
I will continue the story in next part. Till then, we weeb offline.